If you'd like to see more of our videos, hit the subscribe button to stay on top of the market news. Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Razak at CMtrading. Today's August 7, 2020, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, Facebook surges to all-time record highs, and this is very important because it's one of the FANG stocks that's making a rotation. But first, let's take a look at the economic events of the day. So we have one event coming out later this afternoon at 2:30 South African time from the United States. NFP coming out for the jobs created in July. This is a very big number, especially since we're going into the last quarter starting September of 2020. Now looking at the markets, starting out with the currencies, the major currencies pretty much taper off while the British pound really breaks that trend line. Looking at the indices, the NASDAQ hits all-time record highs yesterday while the Dow Jones tapers off to positive territory. Looking at the commodities, gold continues to climb higher. Not as big a jump as we had last week. Oil still in a very tight range, just between $43 and $41. And lastly, looking at the stock, like I mentioned, Facebook trades to record highs while the bank stocks are really weak. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we could expect from today's trading. So we're starting here with the Euro USD at a 4-hour chart. And you can see we hit this resistance-ish level at 118.85, a little bit of turbulence up here. And this is an anticipation to this number coming out. We want it to be in the upper range of it, and we're there, okay? If we look at, where we started out just a couple of weeks ago and where we are right now, we're at the top range here, okay? So for all intents and purposes, if it does make a correction, this would be a spot to make a correction. Now, when we look at the GBP, it actually broke that trend line. Now, we've had this trend line for some time now, okay? If we look at a 1-hour chart, you can see it. It's a little bit more clear there, and we are trading below the 14-day moving average. So this may be an indication that we're going to retrace here, and just that the retracement levels are very important. The next retracement or possible support area is 130. Okay, so that could still happen later today, depending on the NFP coming out and how it's going to affect the dollar. Now, generally, when the NFP comes out, you want to be trading the Euro USD or the Dow Jones, okay, if you do decide to trade it. But as we look at the other currencies, we see a different story. Aussie USD still relatively strong here, also at the top range. Now, looking at the USD Rand, okay, the Rand just gets weaker and weaker, and we rallied up to the 1749, just breaking above it at 1755, and this is really very important because this really is a bona fide correction. Now, we are hitting a bit of a resistance level here, so just be aware of it if the dollar does decide to get weaker. Now, looking at gold, this does not stop. $2,072 just yesterday, and then retracing just a little bit. We're about $13 off of that. This could be a retracement position for it, okay, especially with this number coming out later today, okay? Now, jumping into the Dow Jones, okay, and what to expect? Well, you can expect volatility. Now, we're trading at 27,700-ish level. We need to jump into a daily chart to really take stock of where we are right now, and we're about 250 points off of our highs that we hit in June 8th, okay, which is exactly 2 months ago, and now we're coming back to that area. Now we're coming back to this area, and there's a difference between where we were in June and where we are right now. Number one, the stocks are higher, okay? Apple, Amazon is higher, Microsoft is higher, and also Facebook is higher, okay? So very important to note that the stocks are really taking a about face about it, okay? So they're really strong where we stand right now, where they weren't as strong back in June, okay? So this buying or this challenging this 27,500-ish level is much more warranted than it was back then. So a couple of things can happen today depending on the NFP. So if we do get some really good words with, production and workforce having increased last month, and I do see ourselves challenging this 27,500. If we do retrace and we break a support level, 27,000 is that level. So we're smack in the middle of that right now, okay? Looking at it from this perspective, you can't see the upper range here, but we are ostensibly speaking, right in the middle of 27,000 and 27,500-ish level. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we go into today. Now, the NASDAQ is still strong, very strong. Okay, so to think to sell short in this type of market is a little bit unjustified because ultimately, the stocks are strong, okay? And the markets are strong. So the Dow Jones is representing some of the old school kind of stocks like the banks and the railroad companies and all these type of companies and the insurance companies, but still the markets are relatively strong, okay? Because when we look at Apple, hit its all-time new highs yesterday at 455. When we look at Amazon, it's close to its highs. When we jump to Facebook, okay, this is Facebook, trading at 263. If we look at a daily chart, you can see a little bit better. Look at that, okay? It went from 248 up to 263 just yesterday, okay? Just an amazing trade, just an intraday, okay? Gapped up, didn't fill in the gap, traded back to support, and then took it up higher, okay? So there is bona fide buying here, okay? You know, in these type of situations where there's such a proportion of how far we go up, we expect a correction. Now, it might happen today, might happen later this week, might happen at the end of the month, might happen in September or October, but I do expect a correction at some point, okay? Because these stocks are trading in increments that I haven't seen in a very long time. Now, we're looking at Microsoft right now, and it's challenging this 215, and so again, it's relatively very, very strong. Now, when we jump into some of the traditional stock, if you look at JP Morgan, okay, it's dead, $97, all right? It's not close to its highs of 138 where we were back in February. If we look at a weekly, just to give you a perspective, we didn't rally back like the rest of the market did, okay? So there is what we call relative weakness in the price of the banks, okay? It's clear, okay? So when the markets do turn around, they do get weaker, suffice it to say, there's probably the bank stocks that are going to be selling off the most first, okay? So just keep that in the back of the head. You know, even though we are going up and we're continuing to go up, okay, you do want to think both sides, okay? Because we are in very unprecedented levels because we still don't know what's going to happen with the pandemic and how it's going to affect everybody, but the tech stocks are still strong. So there's a little bit of a pull and push here, depending how the markets are going to go. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you a great trading day, but just keep in mind, keep stop losses at a short today because you expect some volatility. Thank you.